2, 1. Not the smartest guys in the room. What's up, Tom? There's only 2 of us, so
That's
we
it.
could be the
Just
smartest
us.
guys.
Just us being not smart in this room.
We could be smart.
I mean, theoretically, anybody could be smart, I guess.
Hey, if we read, if we study, maybe we want to be the smartest. We are now officially the smartest guys. That would be the best. Hey,
I mean, that's fair. If it's just the 2 of us, then I guess by definition we are the smartest guys in the room because we're
today.
literally the only 2
We
people
are
in
the.
room.
We could, and then as soon as somebody jumps in, we could change it. We are the smartest guys today. Until anybody gets here, you're watching, listening to. We are the smartest guys in the room.
Right. Because there's no other options. We're it. We're all you get. That's all we got. So what's going on, Dom? What's new in your world?
Where do you want to start, Tom?
Well, should we? I mean, you tell me if you want to talk about the 2-wheel incident.
Yeah, that my bike only has 1 wheel now. I'm just hoping. Like, what'd you call that thing that you think fell? That you said, I wonder if it malfunctioned.
The skewer.
The skewer. I looked that up on the internet, and it is ironic that my skewer was laying out in the middle of a road.
It shouldn't have come out. Like, the skewer is supposed to be, there's a kind of a nut essentially on the end opposite where the lever is on the skewer, that that thing that goes through the middle of the bicycle wheel that holds the bicycle wheel to the frame of the bicycle. Those skewers are supposed to not be able to come out because there's like a nut on both ends, so it shouldn't be able to come out. So the fact that it was out of the wheel says to me that it came apart while you were riding it, and that's probably what caused the back wheel to go crazy and then come out, and then ultimately probably caused the crash. But that's my guess, was that it sounded kind of like, from what you described, I threw out like, maybe it was the skewer failed, and you were like, yeah, it was laying on the road. That was weird. And I was like, that's not good.
It's interesting. You guys that are superior but hey, Debbie, what's going on? Howard, what's going on? Debbie just retired, by the way. So one of my questions for you today, Tom, was, are you doing what you want to do? Are you doing what you're good at? So as Debbie, so we'll get back into bike riding. Debbie, I fell off my bike. Howard fell off my bike. Get into this. I'll show you some show and tell, may incorporate some bumps and bruises or other things today. But Debbie, so you retired for 4 days. Well, it's Wednesday. I think you retired on Friday or Monday. I forget what it was. So how do you schedule, like, I'm coming out guns blazing, or do you take a week off? Tell us about that, Debbie, because now you get the chance, not that you didn't want to, but it's like a second act where you can do whatever you want right now. So teach us, Debbie.
Well, actually, my last day was on Friday. And before I go any further, I'm sorry, Dom, that you had a bike accident. I hope you're well. Anyway, so yes, I had the weekend that I actually recuperated from, because they actually had a little party for me. It was lots of little gifts. The outpouring of love and support was totally overwhelming, emotionally and physically. So I kind of took the weekend to regroup. And so come Monday, I've started putting myself like on a bit of a schedule, because getting more consistent with posting, creating some content. I actually had a meeting with someone from SCORE yesterday, and I've got a radio show this morning that I'm doing. So I'm trying to schedule things and create a new routine. I'm very much someone that needs a little bit of structure and a routine. But then again, I'm leaving tomorrow because this weekend my daughter's having a baby shower for my first grandchild. So I have a lot of good things going on, and I'm very excited about my future.
Well, that's what it's all about, isn't it? Congrats, Debbie. Tom, you got any advice for somebody starting a new a new chapter, a new career?
That's a tough one because I mean, honestly, like I don't really plan on ever retiring per se. Um, at the end of the day, like I'm a little bit of a chip off the old block. My dad is in his late 70s and still goes to work every day, and doesn't want to stop anytime soon. And I think even when he does eventually sell his law practice and close his office, he'll probably find other ways to continue sort of working at least part-time. So I don't think he's ever going to fully retire. And I think like your dad's, not dissimilar, I don't think, right, Dom? I mean, your dad is still out there working every day, loving what he's doing. My aim is to build a business that, that I never want to leave. So I don't know in terms of like retirement. I do know from like anecdotal experience when my mom, who was a teacher, retired, suddenly she was busier than she ever had been because she was like, I've got all this time on my schedule I have to fill up now. And she just started scheduling herself like crazy. So she's got so much stuff going on all the time. I feel like she's more scheduled now, as a retired person, and she's been retired for about 10 years. I feel like she's more scheduled now than she ever was when she was working. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think, focus on doing what you love, and stay busy. I think that's the important thing. There's this sort of weird myth that we're sold that like the goal is to spend, the majority of your adult life working towards having a couple of years of fun at the end of your life. And I think that's a bizarre way to approach things. Like it just doesn't even it never really made sense to me, even as a kid. I was like, wait, so I go to work for 40 years. And then after that 40 years, I like spend the last 10 or 15 years of my life kind of like, I don't know, when I'm less able to go do things, that's when I try to go do stuff. Like that's when I try to live my life. So I get like 15 years of life at the end of having spent 40 years working towards getting that 15 years. Like that sounds crazy. Like it's not a very good return on investment, right? So like yeah, I don't know. I never really understood that kind of philosophy of retirement. So I think stay busy, keep working, just work at something different, focus on your passion projects, which it sounds like Debbie's doing. But I mean, that would be my advice is like, whatever you do, don't just sit around, and put your feet up. Cause it's a lack of activity, a lack of, stimulation, I think is a surefire way to, not only not lead an enriched life, but, potentially, remove opportunities and limit yourself, both in scope and in scale. So that's those are my thoughts.
All right, let's get to the group. We're talking. Okay, so here's what we're talking. Next chapters, whatever the chapter is for you, what are you going to do? What you're doing now, are you good at it? Are you doing what you like to do? So you could be, let's say, like I was in pharmaceuticals. I hated pharmaceuticals, right? And I was trying to get out of it the whole time, means to an end and things like that. So is where you're at, is it working for you? Or maybe you're in some business and you're thinking, I really don't enjoy this because too much of the business is networking or sales or doing things that I'm really not good at. So, hey, and so we got Howard, we got Jolanta, we got Julie. So Howard, what do you think, man? You got any advice for us? How you been?
I don't know about advice. Good morning, everyone.
I just followed you on Twitter too, by the way. Go on.
Sorry about your bike accident. Hopefully you're recovering well. And Debbie, certainly congratulations. Yeah, I'm just kind of in a stage right now, I guess, in my life where I've, left corporate America probably about 7 years ago now, and been on this journey and just really applying all of the life's lessons of all the victories and successes, and at the same time all the failures and things that didn't go as planned, and just trying to apply the best learnings from all that into something that has become kind of a passion for myself in terms of being, call it an entrepreneur when you're towards, in your 50s, as opposed to earlier in life. And yeah, but I'm a big believer. You got to keep moving ahead. You got to keep learning. You got to keep applying. You got to keep being motivated. And above all, you got to find ways to give back, whether it's, big ways to give back, or even the small little things that you can help people along the way. Because I know for me to get to where I've gotten to at this point, and to have that flexibility and that freedom, a lot of people definitely helped me along the way. And I always remember that. So I always try to at least pay it forward best I can. And I'll leave it there. Thanks, Dominic.
Okay, Howard, we need to dig in. So you leave the corporate world. So Debbie just left the corporate world. I left the corporate world a while ago. So you leave the corporate world and you're on your own. So how do you make sure that you don't get, there's this what do they call it, emotional runway and financial runway, that some people, the financial runway is actually longer than people think, and the emotional runway, like they get 6 months out, 12 months out, and I don't like being alone. I like a check on Friday. How do you make sure that you stay on task, Howard?
Yeah, great question, Dominic. I'm not sure there's a perfect answer, but what my experience is that fortunately, after the corporation I was with, private equity came in, took it from a publicly traded company to a private company. And suddenly, a number of us that were at that, call it executive level, were basically, we're thanked for our service, and we moved on, right, to pursue other opportunities. So from that point, I was fortunate enough with, call it the network in particular. I found myself actually in a couple of different consulting opportunities, and that kind of provided me a little bit of runway to kind of step back a little bit, reflect, but yet have a totally different environment. So obviously a totally different, call it corporate lifestyle, work lifestyle. So from that standpoint, that allowed me just to kind of, as things evolved, it really became a journey. And I got involved with one company that was heavily involved in, call it the rising natural and organic food category. And that just opened up some doors. And it ultimately led to a aha moment that occurred in a grocery store aisle, identifying a product that I couldn't believe carried a warning label on it. It was a children's product, and that was kind of like the spark that said, "Hey, wait a second, there's something to, you know, it looks like that there could be something going on here." And after doing more research, I realized, I have an opportunity to apply all the different experiences and skills that I've obtained, and made that decision to, um, and it wasn't like an immediate decision, but after doing the research for a few months, really said to myself, okay, it's time. I'm as equipped as I'm ever going to be. There's never going to be a perfect time, but I'm going to take this moment and take the plunge. And that's how it happened.
Howard, so I want to dig in a little bit here. I'm curious. You piqued my curiosity. So I just pulled up your bio here on Clubhouse. It says Fortune 50 executive who is now working as an entrepreneur. I'm curious, what space were you in? What was your role in that Fortune 50 company, if you don't mind saying? And what are you doing now? What are you doing now as an entrepreneur? Consulting in what space? I'm just curious, like where you are and what space you're in, what your experience was.
Sure. I had a couple of roles. One was vice president of marketing with a pet specialty retailer, and then I was a VP of e-commerce with a major home improvement line. So that was kind of my background. background was more in that corporate marketing as e-commerce was emerging. A lot of it continues to evolve and change. So that was kind of the background and the experience. And the space I'm in right now, because I got involved with that healthy snack food company that did a lot of mapping of ingredients with a public website out there called pubchem.com, which is a sister to PubMed. If you're familiar with pubmed.com, it's both websites are from the National Institute of Health. That was the reference to determine whether an ingredient, a food ingredient, was safe or healthy. Anyone can go to PubChem and you just put in whether it's a food ingredient, a cosmetic ingredient, or any other type of ingredient. In my case, what I wound up being attracted to was oral care. And after researching the market and putting, hundreds and hundreds of ingredients through that PubChem filter, realizing how many, according to PubChem, harmful ingredients exist in so many products out there. That was really the spawning or the motivation to strike in developing a natural oral care product line, and that's what I'm involved with today.
Cool. Thanks for sharing that, Howard. I would love to, I don't often do this in here, but I would be curious. I don't want to drag everybody into what would be probably a deep rabbit hole of a conversation that I'd love to have with you about your experience in the corporate world, specifically in marketing, because my focus is on helping businesses communicate more effectively with the communities that they seek to serve, primarily through video content. And my background's in the entertainment industry as well. But yeah, I'd love to have a sort of longer, nerdy conversation about kind of the state of marketing and where I think things need to go, and curious to hear your thoughts in return. So let's connect. Let's connect offline and set up a time to chat, if that's all right with you.
Oh, sure, Tom. No, I appreciate that. But I definitely won't be the smartest person in the room on that one, but I'm more than happy to share.
Me neither, but you'll definitely be the one with the most corporate experience. So out of that conversation between the two of us. So I would appreciate it. I'll send you a message and we'll set something up. What do you think, Dom?
I think it's good. I'm looking at your YouTube comments. Jamie Hill said, "We are the smartest people in the room." And that's because early on today, it was me and Tom. And so we decided the name is changing. When it's just us, we are the smartest guys. But Howard, thanks for sharing that. We appreciate you. If I can only talk so long, it is because I fell off my bike. I bruised myself up, hurt ribs, hurt elbow, bruised ribs, cracked a rib. My lungs are a little messed up. That's what's so weird. Like, it hurts on my shoulder blade, but the ribs in the front. So I don't know what's going on here. So Jolanta, what's going on? Are you good at what you do? Do you like what you do? Or do you want to be doing something else? Go on, Jolanta. What do you got for us?
Hey, Dominic. Hey, Tom. Nice to see you guys. Hey, John. Good to see you in the room, too. Let's see. I do enjoy what I like doing, but I will say there are some days where I have to pull back, peel the onion off just a little bit, because every once in a while you just have to step back and try to, take some days off social media here and there, because there's a lot to do, right? I didn't realize I would be wearing multiple hats as a content creator or an entrepreneur myself. And, aside from photography, I think there's a lot that goes into running a business. So I enjoy photography a lot. I enjoy filmmaking process. I just like working in the entertainment world as well. And, I think there's always something to learn. That's, it depends on who you collaborate with, I think. And that's what makes it enjoyable.
Okay, Jolanda. So if there's something you don't like to do, how do you get rid of it? Or do you just keep doing it?
So I delegate. I learned to delegate probably a couple of years ago when I started learning. I don't like editing films. So I needed to have somebody who was a strong editor. And I said, you know what? I don't have time to edit. For photography, I don't mind editing, because that's something that I control, and it's the same with writing speeches too, because I'm also in Toastmasters and I do write speeches a lot from time to time for different topics that I might talk about. And so I've challenged myself to actually learn to like writing more. And so I also write some scripts here and there too, but I delegate tasks. I delegate tasks to people who I think that are strong in what they do, and I believe and I can trust them to take over a little bit of things for me. So delegation is key for sure.
I like it. I like the idea of delegating. Okay, so let's go. Cruise on. Not the smartest guys in the room here. Hey, Jolie Loken's back. John J. Alexandra. Is it Alexandra? Alexandra.
Alexandra. Hi, Alexandra.
Alexandra, what's going on? Come on up. You or listen, we appreciate both. John J., how do you know you're good at what you're doing? What if you suck at radio and nobody told you, John J.? What if I suck at what I'm doing? How do you know you're good at it? Or does it matter if you like it? What do you do?
I really don't think it matters whether you like it or not. It's whether you're successful at it or not. At this point, when I was early in my radio career, yeah, and I still enjoy it very much. Don't get me wrong. I love what I do. I have a lot of passion for what I do. But the end result is it bringing results? Is it enriching me? Is it increasing my reach? All that stuff. Now, the other question is kind of a loaded question. Am I good at what I do? I think I'm not the right person to answer that. Are there people better than me? Absolutely. Can I learn from them? Absolutely. Are there people worse than me? Absolutely. And quite often, the best lessons I learn is what not to do from those people. But I research a lot, and I really focus on what is producing results. So am I good at what I do? To be totally honest with you, it makes me very uncomfortable answering that question because it's a relative thing. Someone can be very good at what they do, and they just started. Someone can be very good at what they do, and they've been at it 10, 15 years. And someone can be lousy at what they do, and they've been at it for 30 years. So I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay, good points all around, John. It makes me think. Sometimes I'll have a call with somebody that wants me to do this or this, and you see this person's terrible at what they do. And then as a publisher, I talk to a lot of storytellers. Some people have so many transferable skills. Like, let's say Tom writes a book about legendeering. Tom wrote a good book, because he was able to take his 30 years of production and take it over into the publishing world and share his stories very concisely. So some skills are transferable. Tom, what say you?
I was just going to say, pump the brakes on 30 years. It'll be 23 in May. So not quite 30. Pump the brakes on that. I'm not that old yet. I'm actually like, if we're being accurate, I'm younger than you. Not by a lot, but by a little bit.
Are you younger? What's your birthday?
Yeah, I'm younger than you. We've talked about this before.
You look older.
Oh, that's rude. That's rude. And also, hey, we've spent some time together in person now, and your hair looks very dark on camera. It looks a little more salt and pepper in person.
I need like a filter to make it darker on camera. When it is wet, it's funny. Go on,
Dominic, I thought you were going to reach out to me for some headshots. You're going to update those headshots?
I need. Yeah, with pepper gray. I need to do that. Go on. You're right.
I mean, and hey, look, I it's pot calling the kettle here, right? Because like obviously my beard is very gray, and I'm bald as a cue ball, and I have been since I was like 20 years old. So definitely a little pot calling the kettle, but I'm just saying, like, not 30 years, years, and I am a few months younger than you.
Okay, fair.
Tom, you know what they say? Oh, sorry, Dominic. I was just, you know what they say? The older, the wiser, the better you learn. That type of thing.
That is correct. And I read, like, one of my favorite books is Og Mandino, The World's Greatest Salesman, and this gentleman. I'm just going to go to like Debbie switching careers, Howard switching careers. At some point, the gentleman in the book gives away all his gold and he starts all over again because he has these basic core principles. And so I think anybody that I think you're, this guy is like my dad at 82, 81, still out working all the time, thinking he's going to take over, he's going to franchise, he's going to do whatever he does. You are still young as long as you're out there hustling, doing what you do. So it is never too late. All right, we got to get to our friend Julie Loken. Julie Loken, how the heck you been? How was Alabama? What are you into? Julie, how do you know if you're good at what you do, or should you stick to things you like? Teach us, Julie.
I love this. Alabama was amazing. It was great. I got to see Chris, so we hung out for a little bit, which was fun. Chris Anderson. Hung out with my kids, which was amazing. But let's just think about this. How do you know when you're good? Like, if you're confident in something, but thinking like you're good or great or really the best, I mean, that's like a false narrative right now. I think we're telling ourselves, because every great person, I believe, should be always trying to be better. And, you can get all the adulations, but there's many different ways to kind of map out success or how well you're doing. And, your boss can tell you you're great. I mean, I think you're great. I think Tom's great. Debbie, Howard, Jolanta, Brian, John, Alexandra. Phil Hill is like the greatest of all times. He's the GOAT. But seriously.
So, Julie, is it bad?
You're asking a question that there is no answer.
Okay, is it bad if, like, I was listening to this football player that just got traded the other day, and he's like, I really love my game. I'm great at this. I'm great at this. I'm great at this. And me and Liz were sitting here watching this guy just talk about all these things he's great at. Is that nonsense?
Depends. I mean, I think there's a false bravado. I mean, if you're good at something, that's great. You should know what you're good at. But what's the context? Like, good as a professional? Good, is it being cocky or arrogant? I think the people that are the greatest are very humble and don't speak of their greatness. They actually are constantly striving to be better. And you can look at people who are millionaires, billionaires, who people are uber successful. No one ever talks about it, really. Like the real true heroes and the greatest people in the industry, they don't sit there and talk about themselves all the time. Especially they don't talk about how much money they make. Just let me say that. Okay, Clubhouse people, make sure you're listening.
Thanks, Julie. Go on, Tom.
All right. So I want to push back a little bit, because I think,
Of course you do, Tom.
of course, because I'm a contrarian.
He missed you. He missed you, Julie.
But let's be real. Like, raise your hand if you've heard a billionaire brag about how rich and successful they are. Like, I know I have, right? I think we all have.
Elon Musk.
I mean, to
one
name,
that wins nonstop. Go on.
To name one.
Don't start, Tom. Don't start. Go on.
No. I'm just saying billionaires 100% are like, can't wait to tell you how successful and brilliant they are for making all the money that they've made, right? Even when they started with, legs up, and incredible advantages in life, so yeah, I would push back on that. I don't think billionaires are good examples of humility. I think too, honestly, Julie, like between, there's a wide gulf between knowing you're good at something, and being willing to be confident in staking, standing your ground and saying you're good at something. There's a big gulf between doing that and bragging and thinking you're perfect, right? And I 100% agree that, like, there is no sort of good path. There's no happy ending when somebody thinks that they're perfect and thinks that everything they touch turns to gold, that they're magic somehow. But I think really successful, dedicated people who are experts in their field absolutely believe in their own expertise and their own skills, But they also know that part of being really good at something is constantly trying to improve. So, I would make myself an example. I will sit here and say absolutely without hesitation that I am an expert in the field of production, right? Specifically as it pertains to video production. I'm an expert. I've put in the time, I've put in the work, I've enjoyed the successes. I've had Emmy nominations recognizing me for that work and that expertise. I, without a question, would sit here and say I'm an expert. And in that same breath, I would also say that every day I work to get better at my craft, right? That I will never be perfect at it, but I will always work towards improving it. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. So if you're an expert, it's okay to stand your ground and believe in your own expertise and believe in your own capabilities. But I think to your point, Julie, keep in the back of your mind that you will never and you can never, and the people who are the best at things understand that they are never perfect at what they do and they always work towards improving it, right? Like I made a kind of a funny comparison the other day where I said, look, if I had practiced as much at basketball as Michael Jordan, I still never would have been as good at basketball as Michael Jordan. He had, certain advantages and predispositions towards being a good basketball player that I don't have. Namely, height is one, right? Like he just was taller than me, right? So that's part of it. But you hear about Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant and these people who are at the top of their field, who are venerated as the best that ever lived, the GOATs, right? Those guys put in more work and more effort and more practice than just about anybody else. And it's because they recognized that while they'll never be perfect, the only way to be the best at what they do is to put in the work and consistently work to improve over time. So that's just the distinction I wanted to draw. I think there's a really big gulf, between thinking you're perfect and being willing to stand in your expertise. And I think it's okay to stand in your expertise so long as you acknowledge that you're not perfect and that you should always be working to improve. That's where I try to look at it from, and that's where I think other people would benefit from doing the same. But yeah, I just I couldn't resist. I couldn't resist jumping in on the billionaire train because I really don't think billionaires are pinnacles of humility.
I know many who don't talk about how they got their money. There are plenty of examples, Tom.
There you go. Challenge accepted.
Okay, that's fine.
There's thousands of billionaires. I probably only know 10.
In Palm Beach, where we're surrounded by billionaires, the truly wealthy ones never, ever, ever talk about how they got their money or how wealthy they are. They don't need
to. Go on. Yeah, that's fair. Go on, Tom.
I mean,
what do you want?
I think again, I think I hear what you're saying, John, and I'm not saying, I never said all billionaires do it or all wealthy people do it. I just don't think that if you want to talk about, examples of humility, I don't think, billionaires are a good place to point. That's what
I think you did say the term all. I believe you did say the word all. I'm going to call you out. And a lot of what you talked about is pure opinion and speculation on your part, which means for you, it's correct. It doesn't mean it's correct for everybody else.
Fair. I never said it was correct for everybody else. I said that I think.
All right. Play the tape. That would be great. Play the tape, Tom. I wish Clubhouse still had clips, because then I would make clip on it. Okay,
Dominic, stirring it up.
Did I stir? I don't think I did. Okay, not the smartest guys in the room. Now, all right, Swifty, man. So what do you do when somebody's out there telling you how good they are at something and you're like, this person's not good at this at all? You just move on, or you doing the same thing? What do you think?
It depends what kind of mood I'm in. Sometimes I just chuckle to myself inside and I listen. And then sometimes I poke. and I might poke, and I'll be honest, sometimes it's just the mood I'm in. But here's the bottom line, and I think we would all agree. I'm not competing against millionaires, billionaires, $1,000 heirs. I'm competing against this ugly guy that looks in the mirror at me every morning. And so, like, words that people say, about themselves don't bother me. I'm all about not being the smartest guy in the room. I've said that hundreds of times. If you're the smartest guy in the room, you're in the wrong room. So I'm all about that. And we all know that we've all been around that person who's braggadocious and talks very highly about themselves. That's just the way they are. They come from that background. That is the life they live in, and they need to feed that. And we all need to feed ourselves in certain ways. And then there are very humble people, and I've lived around them. You look at Farmer Joe. He's in overalls every day. You see him at the farmer's market, and you've known him for 10 years, and then you hear the guy's worth $20 million, and you would never know it because he's up at the market, selling his goods and buying other goods, and he's just Johnny Lunch Bucket. So there's all types out there, and I think you can learn from everybody. And let's go back to a topic we talk about a lot. You just got to be genuine to yourself. Do you like who you see in the mirror? And I agree with Tom and John and just we got to keep, in my opinion, we got to keep just getting better at what we do. And that is a journey. I don't think that's why people like Michael and Jordan and Kobe understood that they weren't reaching a goal. They were just pushing their journey further and further than others did. Their goal wasn't to get to a place. Their goal was to push themselves further. Their heroes, and I forget who said it in one of the award things, was they were looking at how great they could be in 5 years if they kept pushing and pushing. And I think that's awesome, because I wrote a word down the other day, potential. Like, do any of us really know what our potential is? I don't. I'm not sure what my potential is. All I know is I've got a lot of room ahead of me to go chase down, and that's what I try to do. I'm complete.
I think I don't know what my full potential is, Swifty. I agree with you there. I do know that all through school growing up, I got on my report cards, it said, like, every semester it said not living up to his potential. So apparently all of my teachers in elementary school knew what it was, but I'm with you. I still don't know what mine is.
Hey, I was supposed to be an underachiever, and I'm okay with that. And my son laughs because he didn't like school in high school, and he's had teachers tell him, you won't amount to, and he's a lineman, and he found his niche. He loves it. He's great at it, and he remembers those words. And I'm glad he remembers those words. One, because he probably was a meathead and deserved to hear some of that. And two, I think it did drive him to be the best, be better than he was, which I think is, I'm glad that he's finally found that area that he knew was that potential he had, that he didn't show a lot of people when he was younger in his teens. And now he's showing it. And as I tell him, this is a journey, not a destination. So, people who thought we were, like underachievers, that was me. If it wasn't for people like me, there would be no upper class, upper percentage of students. So I was okay with that because, that's a moment in time. And I think sometimes we have to realize, especially when we get down on ourselves. And I know for me, I'm harder on myself than probably anybody else would be, even in athletics. When I played, when you make a mistake, and if you're hard on yourself, you just want to keep getting better. I think it's a quality we're missing in a lot of young people today. This desire to keep getting better and to be honest with ourselves. But, it's all good. I'm complete.
Swifty brother, you're on fire today. Brian came out and got us back in order. Good stuff, Brian. Appreciate you, man. We appreciate everybody who comes every week. So whether you're here for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, or you're retired like Debbie just did, and you can spend hours and hours with us. Debbie should be our new moderator and be here every week. So let's continue here. Hey, inch by inch, I want to tell you something just as an inch by inch type thing. Yesterday, I just finished, and finished is a funny word, but I just finished a full draft of a screenplay I've been working on for like years. And it was a book, My Name is Sharon, about my mom's battle with Alzheimer's. And I was going to write the screenplay first. Then I was going to write the book at the same time. And then I realized I wasn't that smart. And then I wrote the book. It got into like Alzheimer's library. Some people read it. So now I had a basis for it. But I fictionalized the screenplay. But inch by inch, I say that because, and then just last night, after I finished and put fade out on it yesterday, today I already went back in and moved into things that I thought I should have wrote 6 months later here. And then I went and researched, how do I write 6 months later in a screenplay? There's a certain order and how it needs to look and things like that. So better every day, and no matter what. And then I took one of the characters. We talked about character development a week ago. I thought I should combine this character with somebody else. And even there, I thought I could tell the story better if I changed the skin color of the character. So I went back this morning and thought, that would be better. It would be better if this character came like this. So inch by inch, all things forward. Hey,
what color did you make them?
Green. It was a roommate of my mother's, and in this story, the roommate is now black. And she was not, but there's a lot of ties throughout the story that I thought it was integral to the way the story closes. Hey, now we got Jason in the house. I want to ask you, anybody in this room, I keep getting these emails about like optimizing YouTube channel, you're doing this wrong, and they circle things and crap like that and show, and I'm like, maybe I am doing something wrong. So Jason, John, anybody working on their YouTube game right now, besides these other questions, any optimizing tips, things that we need to do today to make our YouTube channel a little better? Jay, you got anything?
There's a lot of things you can do for YouTube, but it really starts with what do you do to get people's attention. I think the best way is just be interested in something. I mean, you can make channels or episodes. You don't have to make one thing that I figured out. Like I use 72 the Architect as I thought as one directed channel, and then I would have like say Man to Man, and then I would have Rise and Grind. You should make a channel specifically for each like creative pathway. So say like if I want to do Man to Man should have its own YouTube, and make sure that when you're on YouTube and you're searching for stuff, it's on your personal stuff, that you're not sharing it with and liking it with all your other profiles. Your profiles should be directed towards.
Don't you think that's a lot of work though, Jason? Or is it just that's the work you got to do?
That's the work you got to do. So if you only have say like 2 shows, then maybe that's best, because you don't want to confuse your audience. You can have your multiple channels under one name. You can do that, and YouTube made it great was it last year they introduced the handles, like where they could search you by handle instead of trying to find your YouTube URL. So that made it great. But I think from the YouTube creators I've seen, the ones that do it well, they have several channels for specific purposes, and that's okay. So, and you don't have to create often, some once a month. you know, but you're not putting all your eggs in one basket because you're supposed to diversify as much as you can. So that's where I can stand on that answer or that question.
All right, we're probably coming back to you soon. Hey, John, you use YouTube, I would think. You put the shows on YouTube. How are you doing that? So
I don't mess with YouTube at all. I have
Okay.
a YouTube channel. Haven't done anything in a long time, so I'm the wrong guy to ask.
Okay, interesting. Jolanta, you got YouTube advice.
No, I was just gonna comment on what Jason was saying about diversifying, because I think it's important if you have different passions that you're tapping into. Like, let's say if you like, for example, personal growth and mindset, you want to have a different topic to talk about that, then you can own all your channels. And I like that. Now you can own your own handle. I just started YouTube, so I don't have that many followers yet, but I just started posting one video here and there, and I'm just trying to learn the YouTube algorithm and how it works, because I use YouTube Shorts a lot. I love YouTube Shorts. I think they're really fun, and it's nice to post. I post my behind the scenes on my YouTube Shorts, and I get engagement there. So like I said, I'm still learning YouTube. I don't know. I used to post a whole ton back in the day on the earliest days of YouTube before it became adsy. So I remember when YouTube was free. Yes, I'm dating myself. I totally get it. Um, and it was better to use YouTube back then. But yeah, I like YouTube now, and I'm just getting used to the different topics that you could get found different ways on YouTube, and I'm learning all that stuff now.
Okay, go on. So I got two YouTube stations. One's got about 850 people. I lost 1,000 people over, or not 1,000, 150 people over time. So I'm not doing something right. But I just store content there now. I used to have a series called Discovery and Inspiration where my son went out, filmed for me, or my daughter from time to time. We'd go out and interview interesting people like our buddy Brian P. Swift here. And then I have my show Bikes and Hikes. It airs on Armstrong TV, which is in about 6 or 8 states. And then they put the shows on YouTube afterwards. So the shows do well on YouTube, but I'm working for the man on that. They get all the views, they get everything. And I would love to take those shows and put them on my own channel, but I'm not at liberty to do that. So go on.
I love your
Oh.
bikes and hikes. I love it. I love your bike. It's fun. It's interesting. It's two guys having a good time doing what they want to do. That's what people pay attention to on YouTube. It's either
Hey.
how to or have fun. I like that channel.
Thank you. And we're going to watch the eclipse in a few days. Yeah, we got our eclipse goggles. We got things for the cameras, all kinds of stuff. So we're heading up to Lake Erie. It's a couple hours north to watch the eclipse. But I will tell you, as far as I'll plug our friend Tom real quick. When I went to like Legendary, and he talks about the story structure and things like that. I love the idea of story structure. And you have to take people on a journey, and you have to be consistent. And we know every time, here's where we're at. We're going to try to explore this, and this today. And at the end of the show, you may have got to where we tried to get to that point. In between was fun and games. You probably learned something at each of these places. And there was some trivia, facts, and fun along the way. That's the format. And the format doesn't really change much. I mean, we might fall an extra time, or there might be sometimes my friend Dave will take us down some odd rabbit hole of something during the show, but it all relates to, well, that's part of the fun and games. So Carrie, what's going on? Phil, Julie, blah, blah, blah. Julie was here. Okay, we got a couple people on. Holly Todden says, hey, Dom and Tom on Facebook. Jamie Hill says, oh, no. Okay, that's from earlier. Not that we were getting rowdy here. And okay, so let's go on here.
I think that was in response to hearing about your bike crash.
Oh, bike crash. Interesting. Okay, so now it is all friends in the room. So this
I
week,
got a question for you guys.
Go on, Jason. What is it?
Since you guys have a channel here for Not the Smartest Guys on YouTube, Do you use any digital cards when you go and have casual conversations? One of the things that people forget to do is introduce or always talking to forward a notice of their show. Because I think that in your show here right now, I mean, it could be for anybody, for anything, content creators or having a good time. You know, if like a friend of mine did this the other day, we're talking and he had a card. I forget what kind of card it's called. It's a digital card on his phone. He says, "Hey, let me share my channel with you." I'm like, "All right, yeah." And it gave me his link to social medias. It was so easy. I didn't have to keep no cards. I didn't have to look up. Just made it easy. And I was like, you know what? That's to me, when you do word of mouth, people get interested. Hey, man, check it out. I've got a great episode for you. Matter of fact, we're going to look at yada, 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 or we're going to look at what we think about shorts. You might be interested. You know, how you talk about your channel anywhere, everywhere. It really is a sign of your business. You know, this is a business. I mean, it's fun, it's a hobby, but this is a business at the end of the day. Yes, you want views, but do you guys share digitally? I mean, do you talk about your shows to anybody, you know, and even to strangers or the grocery store clerk, casual conversations? How do you forward your show? That's my question.
I'll admit, I think me and Tom are terrible at it, and I'll say I'm I'm worse than Tom. I mean, no, we should, and I think the way this came about, you know, pandemic, and hey, we were on this app, and then we streamlined it more and more and more. But no, I think we should, and I realizing.
Well, read
Yeah.
that book Hooked by Nir Eyal. He really hits it home. He talks about the external triggers for people to invest in anything. He's talking about sales, but it applies to your channels or your podcast. Do you treat your creative works as an extension of you and your business? You know, and that's it. Like, if you're not talking about it, how do you expect more than the regulars to come in? And it's your opportunity that you're losing out on. Just like when people write books and they not talking about, you know, hey, I've got a great book for you. And do you read? So you're not using the tools and your blessings, then what do you got?
Yeah, I think, you know, look, Jay, I think that's a fair point, man. And I appreciate you kind of drawing attention to it and maybe creating some accountability for Dom and I, because, you know, as he said, we have not historically been good at this. This whole thing started as, you know, at least from my side, right? You know, I think Dom and Neil, when they first started this, had a little bit more, at least Neil did, I think, had some intention with it, but then he ultimately ended up leaving. But, you know, when I first got involved with this thing, when it was before it was not the smartest guys, you know, it was very much just sort of a fun hobby, you know, something to do, something to explore and learn about and play around with. And I think over time it's grown into something more than that. And we should treat it that way. We should, you know, treat it like, you know, what it is, which is, I think, you know, a piece of content that we create, you know, that we have every week, that we host every week, you know, that we absolutely can and should use as an extension of our businesses and what we're trying to accomplish in the world. So I appreciate you kind of shining a light on that and maybe creating some accountability for Dom and I, so that we'll actually follow through on some of the things that we've talked about behind the scenes. So thanks for hitting on that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I like seeing you guys succeed. I like seeing, I mean, I come in here weekly. It's a part of my Wednesday mornings. So a lot of people have routines, and in Hook, that's what he talks about near Ale. He says that, you know, if you can get in people's routines, you can get in their beliefs, and you have a residual product. And no matter how you started, whether it's serious or not serious, when does it become important, you know, for your product, you know, like you guys talked about before, going like LinkedIn or another platform, extending your brand, even though it wasn't intended necessarily, it still is the opportunity. And, it made me think like, as I've been going through my own brand stage, like I do create plenty of YouTubes, but it was all a mess. It was like a hoarder's mess. It's like a whole bunch of stuff. But now getting focused and knowing exactly the outcome I'm after, I will input, do the work, and make sure that the pieces in place will further go. Because after we're dead and gone, our kids and our grandkids will be able to watch, hopefully, on YouTube or listen to podcasts. I mean, that's the beauty of it. Like I have an episode recorded on my old podcast about me interviewing my grandmother, and it still gets listens. Beauty of it, she's been gone 4 years, 5 years now, and my family still goes back and listens just to hear her voice. So this is beyond just touch points, maybe making money or people, but it's an extension that goes on longer maybe than we'll be here. So I just think it's a great opportunity, covet, treat it that way. Thanks, guys.
That's good stuff, Jason. That makes me think about me and my dad took a bike trip to DC a couple years ago, and I documented it. It's one of my favorites, and I'm so glad that I'm going to have this forever, him talking and things like that. All books, video, this stuff makes you, gives you eternal life. So stay the course. Big news here. Amazon Associates, while I'm talking here, a big 16 cents came in today. So I will keep sharing my links. 16 to the good. 297 cents. And I got 297 clicks for 16 cents. Come on, man. But I see some more people ordered. Okay. Now it's time for show and tell. We mentioned the other day, my sister was in town for Easter. We went out, me, my dad, my wife, my daughter. We had a couple drinks, nothing major. Came home, the weather was nice. I'm like, I'm going out on a bike ride. I rode like the wind down the trail. I was at about 9 miles. I'm like, oh, I'll go a little farther because I know how many miles it takes to get back. So I'm going to get over 15 miles. I'm cruising. All of a sudden, I'm down in town. I go down one street through these side streets, and this red truck gets behind me. But I know on these side streets, I can get like from stop sign to stop sign or stop sign to red light. He's not going to be able to catch me. So I'm just like going down the middle of the road, and going from one, and I'm ahead of him. He can't catch up. So I'm feeling good about myself. So I get out to the main road. All of a sudden I signal to go left, and my front bike tire starts to wobble. My back tire goes up around, and I flip off my bike, bounce a couple times, get up in the middle of the intersection, and I'm just like, I can't say a word, but I looked and saw, like, if you just look at me, I was able to move my bones and stuff. So I knew like that much of me was all right, but it felt like somebody was like squeezing my chest. So I'm like, what the hell's going on? I felt like really squeezing me. So after I caught my breath a little bit, I went out and got my bike off the road. Nobody stopped and helped me on the main intersection of town. And it turns out my wheel had fell off. My back tire had fell off. My mirror crashed. So then turns out I go home. I call my wife because my bike's not able to be ridden. So I call her. She comes and picks me up. I can't even lift my bike into the car. That's how lame I am. So she had to do it, and she's not used to that. So she couldn't stick it in and stuff like that. So it turns out, besides some bumps and bruises, elbows, knees, hips, I end up bruising my ribs, and I broke a rib. So I am a little bit winded. I don't know if you can see that. You can't really see my arms turning green. You can't. Oh yeah, you can see that right. I don't even know what this is, but you can see. Why? I don't know why my elbows getting that color up there. Look, that's weird. You see, that is not weird shade in my house.
That's called a bruise.
Yeah, it's just a different color. But what my show and tell is today, Tom. This is a simple show and tell. Please hold me accountable. I'm begging each of you. Jackie, we did quick show and tell, then we're coming to you. I'm asking you to hold me accountable. I did not have a helmet on. This is my helmet. I'm going to buy a new helmet. I don't like how this one sits on my head. I feel funny in it, and I don't know how I didn't crack my face or anything like that or my head, but I did not. And I feel that I was a little bit lucky that day. So my show and tell is this plastic helmet that could have kept me safer, but I didn't have it on. And I'm going to recover from these ribs, and that's all right. But just so show and tell, public address, wear helmet. That's what I got for you.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that, Dom. I mean, I think, first of all, glad that you're on the mend and okay. Obviously, my first question when you texted me and told me about the accident was like, are you okay? Right. But then shortly afterwards, I asked, were you wearing a helmet? Because I know that you don't always wear a helmet. And I am somebody who most likely wouldn't be sitting here able to have a conversation with you right now if it wasn't for a bike helmet. When I crashed a couple years ago and broke my collarbone into 4 pieces, I knocked myself out. I landed on my head first, which just goes to show I ride thousands of miles on a bicycle every year. I mean, literally 3,000 plus miles a year on my bike. And I, even with all of that time in the saddle, you never know what could go wrong. And I had something go wrong, and I wrecked, and I landed on my head first and was knocked unconscious. And that was with a helmet on. And I have no doubt that if I hadn't had a helmet on, I definitely would have suffered a traumatic brain injury. And the severity of that brain injury is, you could guess, right? But I definitely would have suffered a traumatic brain injury as it was. I was knocked unconscious. I had a concussion. I had a CAT scan, everything checked out. And I was ultimately okay. But I wouldn't have been okay. And I definitely would have had a longer road to recovery if I hadn't had that helmet on. So I asked that because I wanted to reiterate that point. I'm glad that you're creating accountability for yourself. I appreciate that because I know it's an easy thing to do to not wear a helmet, when you're out on your bike, and we're of an age, when it wasn't cool to wear a helmet when you were riding your bike. There was a whole stigma associated with it, with kids when we were growing up in the 80s. Right. If you had a helmet on when you were riding your bike, you were a dork and you got made fun of. But I'm telling you, man, it very easily can be a lifesaver, and I would never ride my bike without one. And I would encourage anybody to do the same. But yeah, no, I'm glad you're healing up. I know cracked ribs are a giant pain in the butt. The last time I cracked a rib, I slept on the couch for like a month because it was the only way. The couch kind of keeps you from rolling over, right? And the worst thing in the world is when you got a cracked rib and in the middle of the night, you roll over onto it and you get that shooting pain that wakes you up out of a deep sleep. Oh, it's the worst. But yeah, so I definitely empathize with you, and I hope you heal up fast. And I'm glad that you're okay, but I appreciate you sharing that as well, because I think it's not just important for you to create accountability for yourself, but for anybody who hears this or sees this or listens to this, that, maybe they'll think twice about making sure they wear a helmet the next time they get on their bike to go for a ride. Because you never know. Everything was fine until all of a sudden it wasn't. Right.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. And it can
caught me by surprise.
Absolutely.
By surprise. Yeah. So
yeah, it's sort of, it's in the word, right? Nobody expects to have an accident. That's why we call them accidents. Mm-hmm, right. Mm-hmm. So yeah, no, I appreciate you sharing that, man. And now I think we're on to Jackie. I saw her throw up a couple of exclamation points. I don't know if maybe she's cracked a rib before, but it seems
maybe okay. Hold on here. Let me read about that. It says mama, wifey, podcast host, hairstylist, prenatal, postpartum trainer, yogi. I need to do yoga.
Jackie's been here. She's been in here with us before. I think it's been quite a while, Jackie, since you've been in. I think
the picture's new too. Go on, Jackie. What do you add into any of those subjects? Your YouTube game, your goals? Are you good at what you're doing? Go on.
First of all, you're in Pittsburgh, right, Dom?
You are correct.
I'm going to put it out there on my Facebook being like, I have a friend that fell in Pittsburgh. WTF? Why did nobody help him? This city is supposed to be supportive. That makes me mad. Somebody should have stopped and helped you. Anyway, I'm from Pittsburgh. I don't know if you remember that. I grew up in Pittsburgh.
Wait, what part? What part? Hold on, I need to know.
I grew up in Penn Township. So
Okay, I'm from Greensburg. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh my God, we're like next door neighbors. Yes.
I went to Hempfield. Where'd you go? Go on.
Penn Trafford.
Okay, arch nemesis. Okay, go on. Continue.
That's so funny. Oh my God, we probably like saw each other out. That's hilarious. Anyways, I cracked a rib before, and actually it was in Pittsburgh. I was in the South Side. It was, I was like 22 and I had a couple drinks, and I was just walking. Like, I was from California at the time. So when the light turns green in front of you, even if there's no walk sign, cars know to stop. So I saw the green ahead of me. I started walking and a car hit me. And yeah, I cracked my ribs and I fractured my tibia because the front of the car hit my leg and then I fell onto the car. So I do know that cracked ribs thing, and laughing is the worst. And God forbid you have to cough or sneeze. It's like, whew, need to take a couple minutes. So I know exactly how that feels. I'm sorry that you're going through that. I don't think I broke anything, but they didn't do an x-ray. They were like, oh, drunk woman, whatever, they just let me be. But yeah. So interesting. But yes, now I'm all mad that nobody helped you.
Yeah, nobody helped. One guy, hey, Johnny Billy, one guy stopped, and I'm wheezing, and I've seen him around town, but I'm trying not to get angry in 2024. John, Tom, I set a goal not to get angry in 2024, but one guy stopped, and he said, you all right? And I'm like, and he went to the bar and didn't stop. I'm like, so I've seen him around town, and I think I need to ask him when I see him if he remembers and why he didn't stop. But okay, go on, Jackie. You got a tip for us? Tip question. What do you got?
A tip. Am I supposed to come up with a tip?
No,
oh my God.
No. I just figured that. Well. Well, you're a podcast host, so do you use YouTube at all?
I do actually. I just started using YouTube this season. I am not great at it, but I am working on it for sure. And I'm going to continue to use YouTube more and more because I'm starting another podcast. I have one podcast about parenting right now, starting another one about spirituality. So with that podcast, I want to include meditations and also like yoga work to go with it. I just have a program and I don't have the money to pay to go through the program yet. I can do it because I'm a trainer, but I can't technically call it yoga because I haven't had the official yoga training. I can do what do they call it? Relaxation techniques, which is basically the same as yoga, but they won't let me call it yoga. So once I actually get the training, that's going to be a part of my other podcast that is starting in June. And that's the tip I'm going to give right now is woo-woo person here. What's happening in our universe right now is making a lot of people spin out of control and not understand who they are at this moment. So just be aware of that and keep reminding yourself of that. And it also is going to bring a lot of stuff up that you think you buried from the past, and it's going to come back up and you're going to be like, why am I thinking of this again? It's to heal. So those are my little tips.
Time to heal. We appreciate you. Thank you, Jackie. Jackie. How do I say that? Come on, teach me. Jackie. It looks like Jackie.
It's Jackie. My mom.
She was just messing with other people from Pittsburgh. Okay, gotcha.
I've been called my favorite that I've been called is Jacqua. That was my favorite. I was like, that's very creative. I'll keep it. I actually like that better than Jackie.
I Jacques. We're going to start calling you Jacques when you come in here. We would never do that. We'll call you by your name. All right, not the smartest guys in the room. Tom, it's almost that time for wrap up time. But let's get a tip from Billy. Anytime you get Billy around, you need a tip. Billy, you make YouTube videos, you make Amazon videos. Do you have a tip for us? What do you got, Billy? Where you been, man? I miss you. like this handsome devil. Go on, man.
Yo, what's up, Dom and Tom? Hope you guys are doing good. Tip, I don't know, man. I did a get a 19 or 18-pound coffee mug and make a TikTok video with your wife. That is my tip. That thing, we made a video earlier this week, and it's got over 1 million views. Actually, like 1.6 million last time I checked.
Slow down. You got an 18-pound,
crazy.
18-pound toss, 18-pound coffee cup. Is that what you just said?
Yeah, 18-pound coffee cup, man.
Okay,
Somebody sent it
gotcha.
to me to review. And sorry, I'm in the car and it's raining, but yeah, that's
I'm
that's
intrigued.
what we
See,
did.
just
Very
with that,
interesting.
with that part of the story. Okay, so get Billy's tip is get an 18-pound coffee. Billy, is there any way you could consolidate that tip? Because I don't know if I can find an 18-pound coffee cup.
Oh, you can find them. They're on Amazon. They're about $200. They're there.
I was messing with you, but really, what you're saying is be unique,
Yeah.
be unique, be different, be interesting.
No,
be
what I'm
yourself.
saying is
Yeah.
don't try, don't plan, don't overthink it. I plan and overthink content all the time. It never does anything. If you want to go viral, just create stupid crap in your kitchen. That's my tip. That's my shocking takeaway from my entire life this week. Is just I'm in shock at how many people care to engage on seemingly worthless content, in my opinion. So it's very interesting.
And Billy, you are speaking of a platform where they are promoting feel good, 15-second, fun, silly, wild. So when you try to, do meditation on that platform, it might not work. When you try to do this or that, but when you give them an 18-pound coffee cup, exactly what the platform really was intended for, isn't it interesting that you kill with your video? Swift, you came off. Do you have something to say?
No, it's just a scary testament to where our country's gone. And if you think about it, because to your point, Dom, yeah, it might be 15 seconds, maybe 30 seconds, but you see these young people, and not even young people anymore, but spend hours and hours, and you need that downtime, and you need to laugh, and you need to have fun. But when you look at what people could be doing to make themselves better, to make the world better, instead of spending 2 hours looking at videos of just stupid shit, which and I've done it, guilty. There's a need, somewhat of a need, but the development end of young adults is just come to a halt. Like they just don't. I see it I push my kids. I see it with nieces, nephews, kids I've coached. The thought of progressing their own abilities, they would rather sit and watch somebody watching a video doing something than actually doing something for themselves. It's almost frightening, in my opinion. And I mean, for those people who have kids or grandkids, to a point of almost being concerning. Just my
Brian, hang in there, man. I'm gonna go the opposite point on this just for you. My daughter's in 9th grade. She's a stinking genius. The other day, she's been wanting me to do her math homework forever. Like, Dom, can you do? Dad, do the math. Do the math. Finally one day, I'm like, I can do your math. It's got all these X's and square roots and bars and graphs and things like that. So I said, I need 2 pieces of paper. Go down to my office, get me 2 pieces of blank paper. I sat down with this thing and I plugged every number into every exponent on the page, and like thinking that I could get to the answer. And so finally I if I put a 3 in, I got one way. If I put a 4 in, I was 100 off the other way. I just wasn't getting anywhere. So finally I was like, answer's 3.5. And just guessed, and she was like, ha, 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 the answers, you needed to say A equals B and B equals C, and the answer is over some weird looking thing. So my point, I'm saying there's hope, man. Hang on, man. There's hope. You know that. All right, Tom, it's that time. Take us home. What do you got for us, man?
Yeah, well,
Give
one
us a
thing-
beautiful wrap up. A beautiful wrap up. Go on, man.
Yeah, I got two things. But first, before I jump into what I wanted to talk about for the wrap up real quick, I want to give some broader context to kind of what Brian was talking about and what Billy was saying about people, how it was interesting that people would, so many people would watch this sort of seemingly, sort of nonsense video. But my response to what Billy was saying was, look, they got entertainment value out of it, right? And entertainment value is value. If it makes you smile, if it makes you laugh, if you find it interesting or funny or whatever, that is value to the viewer. So that's what I think they were getting out of that video you were talking about with the 18-pound coffee mug. I saw a similar video. I don't think it was yours, but another one with that same 18-pound coffee mug just the other day. So I know what you're talking about. But then in response to what Brian was saying, I just want to give some broader context. So I'm going to read a quote real quick, and I'm just going to ask you, Dom, to take a guess at who said this, right? So I'm just going to read this quote real fast. The children now love luxury. They have bad manners, contempt for authority. They show disrespect for elders and love chatter in place of exercise. So who do you think said that, and when do you think it was said? Dom.
Okay, it's a trick question, so I'll give you an answer. Oh, hold
Dom,
on.
you got to unmute, buddy. Did you unmute? I can't hear you.
Sorry, I unmuted on my computer.
Yeah,
not
there
on
you
here.
go.
After all this time, I am still not the smartest guy. I feel this is a complete trick question. I don't want to go as far back as Plato or Aristotle or somebody like that. So, but I could be in the right path. But I'll go newer. I'll go, since he's cranky, I'll go Andrew Jackson.
You should have trusted your gut. That was Socrates over 2,000 years ago. And what, researchers have kind of looked into this phenomenon, because it seems like a recurring theme that sort of older generations complain about younger generations. And the reason that they found that it happens is because we're really bad at remembering what we were like when we were younger. Like we're really bad. We may, really place a high value on reading, in our 40s or 50s or later in life, but we're bad at remembering that we didn't do any of our assigned reading in high school over the summer in between English classes. So anyway, I just wanted to give some broader context to that, that basically, as long as recorded history has existed, at least in Western culture, going back as far as Socrates, we have, writings that it's a common theme that older generations complain about how easy younger generations have it and how lazy they are. So just, have that in the back of your mind as context. When we're talking about this, everything's different for every generation. So there's that.
Good point. No, it's a good point. And I'm sure our parents said it about us, and I'm sure their parents said it about them.
Absolutely. So thanks, Swifty. But yeah, I always like to point that one out when I get the opportunity, because I think it's a really interesting fact and one that's helpful to just bear in mind. And one that I've kind of reminded myself of when I've caught myself thinking the same way.
Okay, that being said, Tom, this is a yes and no question for you. Simple, yes or no. Do you agree what Socrates said?
No.
All right.
Definitely not.
Cool.
I think he was falling victim to the same phenomenon that the researchers have discovered, and that is that we're really bad at remembering what our younger selves were like. So yeah. But all right, here we go. Let's wrap it up. So interesting thing came to my attention literally in the last 24 hours. I find it really interesting, and I hope you guys will too. So I remember, I think it was 2017, 2018, when Amazon debuted their cashierless grocery stores, where you just walk in, you take whatever you want, you put it in your basket, and then you walk out, and somehow you automatically get billed for the things or charged for the things that you take. And they were sort of billing it as an AI backed, future solution to shopping. And I remember thinking to myself at the time, I don't get how this works, right? And I'm an overly inquisitive person, admittedly. I was always annoying to my parents as the kid who would always ask why to everything that they said or everything that happened. I always wanted to know why. I always wanted to understand how things worked. And I totally appreciate that I'm overly inquisitive, but there was something about it that always sort of piqued my my meter of like, something just doesn't quite add up with this, right? How are they doing it? And the fact that they're not telling us how they're doing it makes me wonder if they're being honest about what it is that's happening. And I feel vindicated, because as it turns out, they were being very dishonest about what was going on. And in the last 24 hours or so, we've come to know that actually those stores weren't really AI backed at all. They had a whole load of cameras in them, and then Amazon had hired about 1,000 workers in India to act as remote cashiers. So basically what was happening when you walked into one of these Amazon stores that was, employing their technology where you could just walk out, which is actually what they called it, the just walk out system, which was meant to quote unquote revolutionize the retail experience. Basically, there were remote cashiers watching video feeds, logging everything you put into your cart, and then charging your card and ringing you out essentially as you walked out the door, to make sure that you paid for everything. So it wasn't this sort of AI promise of automation. It was really just a sort of clever way to outsource cashier jobs overseas and pay people much less than you would have to pay workers in the States to do the same job, because they figured out that they could do it remotely and just hire people in India to do it via video feed rather than having to physically be in person in the store. So the reason I share that is, one, because I think it's fascinating and interesting, but two, because I want to encourage everybody to not accept things at face value, right? All I'm saying is it has always served me well, even when it has been to the frustration of my parents or the annoyance of friends when I've been overly inquisitive. It has always served me well to ask the question, why? And then in the absence of someone being able to provide me with an explanation, going out, doing the research, learning about something, and figuring it out for myself. And I would encourage everybody here to do the same, everybody listening to do the same. If you're curious about how something works, answer the why. Right? When I was a kid, my parents would steer me towards the encyclopedias on the shelf in the other room in the house, and I would have to go look things up. Which then, they, much to their regret, meant that I would then come and report back to them with what I had learned, whether they were interested or not. But I always, always, always encourage people to ask why. Make sure you're asking why, and make sure you understand why you're doing what you're doing, and how it furthers your goals and your missions in life, and whether or not it takes you closer to the goals you want to reach. So that's where I'll leave it with everybody today. Don't be afraid to ask why. The answer may surprise you. Thanks everybody for being here with us. For those of us watching, they can see Dom has strapped on his helmet to make sure that even if he trips going up the stairs from his office in his own house, he is well protected. I appreciate that. I applaud safety. Safety first, not safety last, right? But thanks everybody for being here with us. We appreciate you guys. For Dom, I'm Tom. We're not the smartest guys in the room. Because of all of you, we love you guys, and we will see you next Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time in Not the Smartest Guys in the Room. Until then, have a great rest of your week. Hope everything goes fantastically well for you, and we'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.